Yo, what's going on guys? Jared here. Today I am going to be giving you a bit of a different deck profile, something I have scoured online for and I have not seen, and I think that this is something that should be seen and known about at least. Of course, knowing me, I haven't done a actual Runick profile in a while since at least Phantom Nightmare, and that is because of the fire decks. But since I have not been going to events, I've been dabbling around with other stuff, and going back to Runick theory, I have actually found a different way to use them again with a new type of deck, that being a Voiceless Voice. Obviously, this is a ritual-based deck, so you might be a little bit confused, but I promise you that there is enough synergy here where I think that this could be an actual thing, but I think that this list can be improved upon with more testing and things of that nature. But for now, I want to show you guys just a little bit of a proof of concept, and then you guys feel free to leave any suggestions in the comments for ratios or any other text that you can play in this deck for the future for anyone else watching. So without further ado, if you enjoy the content, please subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. And again, leave comments for any suggestions for anyone in the future looking at this video. So yeah, without further ado, let's jump right into the actual profile. Okay guys, so here is the Voiceless Voice Runick deck. Just to get it out of the way, the 20 Runick cards on the bottom is my standard. 2 Fountain, 3 Destruction, 3 Freezing, 3 Slumber, 3 Dispelling, 3 Tip, and 3 Flashing. Super easy. Just going to get it out of the way. And then for the actual Voiceless engine that I wanted to talk about, obviously we have 3 low, 3 Barrier, the Voiceless Voice, 3 Saphira, 1 Saravis, the effect monsters, 1 of the ritual monsters, Saravis, 3 Skull Guardian, 2 Prayers of the Voiceless Voice, and then 1 Radiance. And then lastly, I have 3 copies of Downbeat. This is a old super rare, old, not that old, but it's a pretty old super rare now. That reads, tribute 1 face-up monster, special summon 1 monster from your deck with the same original type and attribute of the tributed monster, but has 1 lower level. So, what does this do? Well, this allows our Hugin, which is a level 2 light fairy, to be able to still search our fountain and bait out hand traps a lot of the time, to be able to transform into a low from the deck that we get to get for free. And then, of course, low being able to get the barrier being able to get Saphira for Skull Guardian, and then et cetera, et cetera. And then, of course, if you already have barrier, you can get the trap card instead. You know what I mean? The normal Voiceless Voice type of lines. But yeah, so for the main deck, that is it. And that is like the main interaction with Downbeat to get into low from Hugin. But there is more to that, I promise you. At the same time, we're going to look into the extra deck, and I can talk about it a little bit more. We have 1 copy of Jerry, 3 copies of Hugin, 2 copies of Sleipnir, 2 SP Little Knight, 1 IP, 1 Dynamondo, 1 Lina, 1 Dark, 1 Access Code Talker, 1 Chaos Angel, and 1 Typhon. So obviously, like I said, the Hugin being able to get into the low is very big. At the same time, Sleipnir being able to use itself as the full tribute for the ritual summon of either of the ritual monsters is also big. So any one any one runic spell is enough tributes to be able to ritual summon Skull Guardian with either Saphira or the ritual spell. I think that is very, very big. Obviously, SP Little Knight, very, very strong with the runic cards in general, being able to link these off and then summon it. Dynamondo, of course, is in here so that we can get the trap card access if we just have a minimal Voiceless engine. Lina and Dark are usable because of Jerry, and then, of course, Voiceless at the same time. Being able to link up into something like Access Code Talker is very nice to be able to close out a game or just get some free pops while we have the option. And then, of course, Chaos Angel being able to use with Low and Sleipnir being able to go into it. There is, I believe, another way to do it if you play a certain type of other engine, but I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. And then Typhon, just because a lot of the decks that are not Snake Eye, this is actually pretty decent against. This also is okay against Snake Eye. This depends. I like this card as an option in Runick specifically because it helps keep up with the current format, at least, being able to be removal for free, essentially, without using your battle phase, which I really like. But, so that's pretty much it for the main theory of it, but there is another type of interaction that I wanted to talk about, that being the new Metamorphosis card. Obviously, this card is in Phantom Nightmare and is extremely good, and people have been trying to figure out, but it is so cheap because no one can figure it out, because this card is inherently a -1, and people forget about that. It's also not a quick play spell. So if your Hugin gets interrupted, you discard the card, then if you have Metamorphosis, now you're only down to 2 other cards plus that card, so you go down in card advantage very quickly with a card like this, so just something to keep in mind. But anyway, so this being able to tribute the Hugin and being able to summon any level 2 from your deck is very good. That being of Diviner of the Herald. Obviously, Diviner is very strong in Voiceless Voice, being able to send something like Trios Hecatrice. Take a Trace, being able to tribute Diviner, gets in the low, and then you again have another starter in this deck. That is why I think that this deck is not perfect. I think that there is other ways to play a type of deck like this, as well as other cards in general. But yeah, so this is just a different type of interaction that you can do with Hugin, along with Downbeat. So you have 6 power spells going along with Hugin that both clear the Hugin and get your Voiceless Voice engine started, which are both very important in a deck like this. Also, being able to play more copies of Saravis to protect your Hugin from things like Imperm in the draw phase is very helpful as well, because that's usually the main point of interaction for a lot of people, is just Imperming the Hugin and hope you can't get the Fountain. Trios Hecatrace also very strong because you can get 2 monsters very easily with what's it called? The Runick spells, being able to just constantly summon monsters. So this can be a actual interruption very, very quickly, which I like a lot, right? Like if you have a Diviner sitting here, or if you have a Low sitting there, being able to summon out a Hugin and then immediately tribute it off for Trios as an additional form of interruption, I think is pretty cool. Not that's going to come up a crazy amount of time, but it definitely can come up enough where I think it's relevant. Also, of course, you can play the Odd Eyes Pendulum Graph Dragon. This is just a general spell negate. It can set you up for future turns, but for now I'm not main decking it, mostly because of space-wise. It's very hard to fit cards in this deck and keep it consistent, so I'm not doing that right now. And then, of course, we have the Leviathan Generator Boss as the rank 9. This is if we decided to play the Trios, we can actually use the second Runick spell to summon Sleipnir, and then use the Trios and the Sleipnir to go into the Generator Boss. But again, these were all cut, in my opinion, just because of space, and I wanted more room to be able to make it more consistent and stuff like that. So, but again, these are just important options. Also, Duality, being able to tribute Hugin for if you wanted to go for more of a synchro line, you can. I just wanted to have the option in here because I think it's something that can be nice. It also helps recyclability with maybe things like Low and Skull Guardian in the future, but yeah, it's just an option that you have to help dodge stuff. Dynamondo, of course, the second copy. I know the main Voiceless Voice deck plays 2, so if you wanted to, you could. I have this Ash in here just as a reminder of general hand traps. Hand traps are very hard to fit in this deck between all the Runick spells and the Voiceless cards. So hand traps I am not playing right now, along with power spells, things like Talons and Talons, Thrust, Econ, whatever else you can play, Call By, Crossouts, all that stuff. You can again Super Poly. These are all cards that are like playable, but the problem is Fire is so strong. So you have to pick of what cards you can fit in here, and the problem is that both these engines are about 20 cards ish, so it makes it very difficult to fit something like hand traps in unless you go for a higher deck count, which I don't really like personally, but maybe there could be some way build out there where a 60 card Runick build can exist, and you could just play the other Runick spells like Golden Droplet and Smiting Storm, but that's not me. I do not do that usually because they do the least amount of work, but again, I could be wrong. And then lastly, we have the Moon and the Azalea. These are other Link 2s that you can play, mostly because they clear themselves in the extra monster zone. So you can make these using both the Hugin and the Low, because you have 2 fairies. So you can go into both of these monsters, and both of them clear themselves. This one tributes to destroy a card in the field. This one targets a card and then sends itself to the graveyard. And then it goes away. So it depends if you want it for cost or not cost. I am a preferrer of the Agent of Moon personally, but this is less generic than the Azalea, so it is going to be up to you. Obviously, Willow Knight is the Link 2 of choice because it's so broken, but again, that option is up to you. So yeah, that is going to be it for the deck profile. I just wanted to give a quick little discussion about it, because I think there's enough interaction here between the Sleipnir being a full tribute, because it is a white monster, the tribute off for the ritual summons, as well as Downbeat into Low from Hugin, and as well as Metamorphosis from Hugin into Diviner and the Trios and the Low. I think that is enough synergistic things that can make this very strong. Also, if your opponent is somehow crashing over the Skull Guardian, you are able to go into Sleipnir and then get rid of the monster that is somehow bigger than Skull Guardian, because most likely it's not going to be bigger and protected. So you can just do that if they get through the negate, which I think is really, really strong. Also, the white Runick monsters are also protected if you have the barrier, the Voiceless Voice out with Low or the Skull Guardian. That's just a little minor thing that is important to know when playing a deck like this, is that you have the benefits of both decks, and any white monster is protected from this card, which is very, very nice. So again, that is going to do it for this video. This is a little bit of a proof of concept video. You can definitely mess around with this and try different things. Let me know what you think about it down below. Any suggestions that you would like to leave, I would really appreciate it. But yeah, that is going to be it. Please subscribe if you enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next video with some more experimental stuff that I am kind of messing around with right now. But until then, I will see you then. Bye, guys.